This is Democracy Now!
A guy came to the Safeway and started shooting. I saw him. He was in a beanie and a hooded sweatshirt and jeans.
Ma'am, we do have the help on the way. How many people are injured there?
We have about a total of 10 people, maybe more. Oh, my God.
Terror in Tucson. Congressmember Gabrielle Giffords is critically wounded after being shot in the head at close range in an attempted assassination. 20 people were shot in the rampage. 6 are killed, including a top Arizona judge. This was Giffords' last march after the health care vote, when Sarah Palin posted a target map with certain districts, including Giffords, in the crosshairs, urging supporters don't retreat, reload.
We need to realize that the rhetoric and firing people up and, even things, for example, we're on Sarah Palin's targeted list, but the thing is that the way that she has it depicted has the crosshairs of a gun sight over our district. And when people do that, they've got to realize there's consequences to that action.
We'll speak with Giffords' fellow Arizona Congressmember Raúl Grijalva and Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick. Can you talk about how you're feeling right now in terms of your own safety? I know this is an issue for Congress members across the country. A conference call yesterday with 800 people on it that House Speaker Boehner presided over. But you yourself have been threatened. White powder, a white substance sent to your office. Like Congressmember Giffords, your window was smashed, yours in Yuma, hers in Tucson. Earlier I mentioned American Renaissance group, that it is not clear if there is a connection here. Clearly, Jared Loughner is an extremely disturbed young man. But what about this level of antagonism?
You have a cauldron that has been brewing and being stirred for close to a decade in Arizona. That has to do with recently the issue of health care, but consistently around the issue of immigration and the border. And that has become polarizing, divisive. The rhetoric has been ugly and very, very disturbing and divisive and angry and hateful. And you mix all that together, and whether there is a linkage or not, and I hope myself that there is no linkage, that this is just a deranged young man that did a despicable act. But the fact remains that there's a tone and a tenor that's been set in our national dialogue that we cannot get away from. And I think that's the reflection that each member of Congress, each governor, and the leadership in our state better take very seriously, that it is, words have consequences, as Gabby said, and setting a tone, whether it is through the shock radio disc jockeys in Arizona and elsewhere, where they continue to promote a divisiveness and a hatred, and then you have people that are listening, and I'm not going to draw the linkage, but in a frail minds and frail circumstances where you have demonized people, where you have made a politician that disagrees with you, not just your opponent, your deadly enemy, those things have consequences. You develop a toxic atmosphere like that, I think everybody needs to take a step back and realize that they have some shared responsibility. This is not about abridging free speech. This is not about the right to petition our government. This is not about the right to assemble. This is about responsibility. And as leaders, we lead by example. And the example has to be that we have to introduce civility, and the debates should be healthy. They should be hard fought. But we don't demonize, and we do not make people our enemies.
Congressmember Grijalva, the Sarah Palin map, she's now removed the map with the crosshairs on districts, including Gabby Giffords' district, from her website, and deleted the tweet where she said, "Don't retreat, reload." Your response to that?
It's about time. And I think if there's any lesson that Ms. Palin needs to learn from this horrible tragedy that we're all learning and appreciating, is that as a leader that people look to, that people follow, that people believe, that her tone, her rhetoric, and her positions relative to other people that disagree with her need to be looked at, and she has a tremendous responsibility, as all of us do, but particularly with the sharp rhetoric that she produces, to lead by example.
And Gabby Giffords saying to Congressmember Moran, it's really bad out there, particularly in a district like hers, she said. Very much troubled that Sarah Palin had put her in the crosshairs. But also her opponent, the Tea Party-backed Jesse Kelly, who had this remarkable invite to a campaign rally, talking about targeting and ultimately saying, what was it that he said? And I'm wondering at the time how this was dealt with. He said, get on target for victory in November, help remove Gabrielle Giffords from office, shoot a fully automatic M16 with Jesse Kelly.
That we commiserated after the election and occasionally during the election about the campaigns that we were going through. Hers tougher than mine, but nevertheless very, very tough campaigns for both of us, and having to endure this for that whole period of time. We need to be accessible, and I think that was Gabby's point. She needed to do what she does in serving her district, and we all pray that she continues to do that. But yeah, the rhetoric was part and parcel of this last campaign, and the vilification of other people, the hatred, and everybody bears a significant responsibility for the tone of politics in this country.
Congressmember Grijalva,
more so the people that incite.
Gabby Giffords' father, when he came to the hospital, said the whole Tea Party. When he was asked whether his daughter had any enemies, he said, yes, the whole Tea Party. How has it come to this in Arizona?
I don't know. I wish that answer was as simple as that. I said earlier that the division and the polarization is stark and deep, and we've got to dig ourselves out of this situation. Politics in Arizona have become one that is fueled by hate and one that is driven by anger. And for those of us that have the privilege of representing parts of that state, we realize that it's like that, but it doesn't have to be like that. And I think that's the reflection and the responsibility we all have going back, and particularly our state leadership, who continues to feast on the anger and the hatred as a means of political gain. I think that is despicable, and people need to change their pattern.
Congressmember Grijalva, our condolences on this horrid terror attack in your state, in our country. Congressmember Grijalva is a Democrat from Arizona, co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Back in a minute. Sheriff Dupnick now joins us on the telephone from Tucson. An extremely strong Sheriff Dupnick about the political climate in Arizona, particularly the state of TV and radio talk shows. Explain exactly what you mean.
Well, I think that there are a lot of people in the radio industry, especially, and some in the TV industry, who make millions of dollars off of inflaming the public, purveying hate against the government and distrust. And in some cases, we have political candidates who say maybe if we can't solve these problems, we need to consider the Second Amendment as a solution. Or we have high-profile people saying, people like Gabrielle Giffords, we need to keep in the crosshairs. And in my judgment, these kinds of statements are totally irresponsible, and there are consequences associated with them.